Hello.
Hello.
Good
Good
morning.
afternoon. Good morning.
Well
You're
done.
welcome. Happy, ma.
Oh, thank you.
We'll just give a few more minutes for a few more people to join in before
Yeah,
we start.
it's true. Mm.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. From
Good morning.
joining. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was already looking. Call. No, who they call? No, they call.
All right, while we're waiting for others to join, just in 3 more minutes, and we'll begin.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody.
Good afternoon, all.
Good
Good
afternoon,
afternoon.
sir. Welcome, sir.
Welcome, sir.
This is Imo.
Nice having you, sir.
Okay, let me see if I can.
Good day, sir.
Madam.
Okay, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, though. I'm fine. I hope the whole of I hope the people been seen. I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay.
A lot of engagement, so I'm just running from somewhere, to meet some.
God bless you for the sacrifice.
Yes.
Thank you.
I hope the sound is not from my video.
That's what we don't know. I don't know where it's coming
But are you connected to 2 devices?
Yes.
No.
Yes, please. If they are closed, can you disconnect one because it's causing an echo?
Echo. Let me see.
Not you, sir. Not you, sir.
Oh, not me, eh?
Yes, not you.
Okay. Okay, I'm supposed to be having.
Okay, all right, so we can begin right now. I'm sure others joining will join us along as we go. So before we begin, let us just begin with the national prayer, the second stanza of the Nigerian national anthem. Second stanza of Nigerian national anthem. O God of creation, direct our noble cause, guide our leaders right, help our youth the truth to know, in love and honesty to grow, and living just and true. Great lofty heights attain, to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign. Amen. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or good morning for those that are in Nigeria. Welcome to our program here today. And so just an introduction, my co-moderator will be leading us in the introduction of today's event. Come on stage, Ma.
Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning, even Nigeria. My name is Igbo Olubumi Florence, and we've been giving you a short introduction to today's program. today basically is an e-seminar where we'll be talking about the current situation, geopolitical situation, and basically we're here to rub minds and actually enlighten ourselves better about what is actually changing in this current state of economic situation we are, geographical situation. So resilience in a changing world is basically an e-seminar for us to actually rub minds, exchange ideas, and actually educate each other about what has been changing, how can we adjust to these changes, and how can we actually live through it and not actually be so affected or actually affected by it. So basically we're starting the program and with my co-host, Mr. Gabby, and Florence. So I'll give him the floor before we continue with the other introductions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Flores. So that makes us the two Gabriels. My name is Gabriel and my co-moderator, Gabriel Flores. So it seems the moderating for the Gabriels. All right, so once again, thank you so much for being a part of this event. Today's event promises to be very, very enlightening. A lot has been happening since the 25th of February when the special military action began. And a lot of us have had questions, those in Nigeria, those of us in Russia. Especially those in Nigeria keep on wondering how exactly are we moving through the situation? How exactly are we finding ways to put through regardless of all the sanctions that have been placed on the country, Russia? So I believe at the end of this program, we all have, we must have come out with something, we must have gotten certain answers to maybe certain questions that we have. So once again, my name is Gabriel and once again, my co-moderator, Gabriel Florence. So today's event is brought to you by Joyful Joy, an NGO who has decided and had the mind to put together this program to enlighten us with in collaboration with the Nigerian Students Union in Russia and the Association of Nigerian Scholarship Students in Russia. So once again, you are welcome. So before we go ahead, before I invite our very first speaker to go ahead and enlighten us on the very first topic, I would just like to hear from you, the audience. What exactly are you expecting? What are your expectations in this event? Do you have anything to say? Is anyone? Ms. Flora, okay.
Yeah, I'll actually say, if I could open, I'm actually quite expecting a lot because I would like to have this conversation outside the regular classroom conversation because I'm a master's student at the High School of Economics. So I study public policy and political analysis. So this is actually within my turf and my area. So I'd like to have a conversation outside the classroom walls and actually have more or less this informal and very comfortable conversations with people who are like me and not basically the European or like the standardized radical view of things, but more or less, let's look at it from a much more liberating and much more friendly view. And that is what I would actually be expecting. Actually having us have a conversation that's actually wonderful, having us have a conversation that is enlightening, educating, and also having fun at the same time, and not just the rigid type of educational standards.
Exactly. I'm sure a lot of us here are expecting something so wonderful like that as well.
Yeah.
So is there another person who really have expectations? Is there something you're expecting? I heard somebody wanted to talk. All right, so in the absence of any other person having expectations or wanting to express the person's excitedness being here today, I'll just right away introduce our very first speaker. Speaker today is speaking, just introducing the theme of our event, which is resilience in the changing world. Please, Ms. Florence, can you do us the honors of introducing our very first speaker?
Okay, so today's program, our very first speaker is Ambi Antimaka Victoria, which is an ambassador and humanitarian. And today she would be actually giving us a short introduction about the resilience in changing world. And if we can, I know we cannot clap, so we can definitely use the reactions to usher. Can we just use some clap reactions to just welcome our floor to actually take the grounds and actually start off the show. So thank you. Let's see the emojis, guys. We can actually use the cameras. We can use the reactions. Just leave a clap till she comes up.
That's all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Man.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Ma.
Good morning to Nigerians. We thank God for the privilege today. Sorry, because of what I have on ground, I will put off the video. Our topic this morning is, the theme is so beautiful. Say resilience in a changing world. And we know that change is the only thing that is dynamic and paramount, whether we like it or not. And at one point or the other in our lives, we'll come across these changes. And it's never funny to some of us. So we need to know what is resilience and flow with it. I start with a very brief true life story of a friend of mine who happened to enter into School of Nursing together with us. Unfortunately, the final year she failed. And when you fail 3 times, they take you back and bring you up. And when you fail, it's finally dismissed and leave the school. Just because she failed this exam, she went and took drugs to kill herself. But as God will have it, I came across her, gave her this topic lecture on resilience, and she was able to pick up, gather herself together, and she started again. And to the glory of God, she came out with distinction. Right now, as I'm talking to you, she is now working in a multinational oil company at Bonny, Rivers State, Nigeria. So we want to start the topic, what is resilience? If you can please share the slide, I'll be very grateful. Please, admin. Hello?
Admin is trying to share the screen, but we are not getting the full view yet.
Okay. So while he is sharing, let me just go ahead. By word of introduction, a psychologist defines resilience as the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy in times of war, such as what is going on between Ukraine and Russia, fire, threats, or significant sources of stress, such as family and relationship problems, serious health problems, death of a dear one, or workplace and financial stressors. Being resilient means that when we do fail, we bounce back. We have the strength, need to then move on, become bigger, become stronger in life. The overall of resilience is, resilience gives us the power to overcome setbacks so that we can live the life we've always imagined to live. All of us have something in mind we want to be. That is our goal. What is the goal of resilience today? The goal this morning is developing resilience helps you to overcome challenges of life. I used to tell people, life does not give you all you want the way you want it. But whatever life throws on you, what is important is for you to be able to gather momentum and forge ahead. And that is called resilience. We have 4 types of resilience. What are they? We have the mental resilience. When a shock, a blow comes, be it war, be it loss of property, money, loved one, the shock must definitely come. That big blow. How do you handle it mentally? It will shake you. Emotionally, some cannot have emotional balance. They get aggressive, irritant, angry. You have to gather yourself together. Social resilience, they cannot relate with people anymore because the shock was too much on them. Physically, it makes them to react irrationally. Of recent, we heard of a man who battered his wife, beat her to death. These are things that have been happening inside that have played out, called resilience, and resilience is the key. The struggle makes you stronger. It should not mar you, it should not bring you down. You shouldn't die at your training depot. We have 7 C's of resilience. What are they? Competence. And when we talk about competence, it is when you have knowledge about a situation and you are skilled on how to maneuver and manage it. That brings about confidence. And we also have competence, sorry. We also have confidence. You have to be confident of yourself. Being able to know what you can do and what you cannot. Connection, and this is one of the most important parts of resilience. I want us, our children, our fathers, mothers that are in Russia, to learn. You have to connect, and when you are connected, it is like a crisscross. You connect to the people up there, you connect to the people you think they are little and least, because you may need them somehow one day. You connect with your peers. Character. When we talk about character, character is the sum total of an individual's behavior. You have to behave well. Your dressing, everything about you tells who you are. Contributing to good things, being able to cope, gather yourselves together, doing things together, so that when it happens to somebody, the other person can also come around to assist you. Coping and control. You need to cope. You need to adapt. You see the flower there. They say grow through what you go through. Very important talk. We have characteristics of resilience. These are qualities of resilience. It's like self-assessment. As I'm going through it, you need to look at yourself inwardly. Are you having these qualities? Self-awareness is essential because it helps you to see yourself clearly and thoroughly who you are. You have to be realistic. In every goal you set, you must set SMART goals. You have to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound goals. That is how you can have resilience. Very erratic and emotional. You just need to work on yourself. 4 A's of stress. When you are stressed, there are 4 A's you need to do. What are they? Avoid. Believe it or not, it is possible to escape some of the minor stressors that tend to trouble people. You alter, communicate clearly, and let people know your expectations. They say when you speak out, it is a problem I've solved. Acceptance. When you have tried all your best to go through a situation and it is not going well, just need to accept it the way it is to avoid too much stress on you. And you adapt to that situation and you'll be able to overcome. If you look at the right side, you have a lot of things you need to do. Because of time, I will send the slides. Another important characteristic is empathy. Put yourself to the situation of that person who is going through a particular crisis or situation. You'll be able to know how to go about it when it comes to you. Self-control. Self-control is key to life. Motivation. You need to be motivational. Motivate others, motivate yourself. It is very, 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 very vital. We need to motivate ourselves, help one another to come up, those that are going down. Be optimistic. We have to overcome resilience in an ever-changing world, as the topic goes. How do you go about it? You need to empower yourself. Reskill and re-attitude. You have to change everything around. Play around and see how best you can handle that crisis situation, like as it is in Russia, the war and the problem that is there. Establish a land base and a community. You people are now in a community. You have to establish a land base. Love one another, visit one another, encourage one another, ask of one another every day to know how each and every one of you are faring over there in Russia because of this crisis situation. Harvest and recycle energy. Some people are stronger than the others. Harvest from one another. Water each other. Nutrition, food is life, food is key. What you eat is what you are. At a time like this, you need the balance up there. So make sure you eat well, you eat healthy, so that you'll be able to cope with crisis situation. Develop passive shelter. Hey, that is so important. Look at the Ukraine children. You see the way they were running. There are some areas they don't even know where to stay, how to go about life. That is life. We have to know how to adapt to situations, learn to cultivate, and have harvesting from one another, fuel one another. Food, as I said, is life. If you look at the resilience on the right side of the picture, you have to be optimistic, self-belief, control of yourself, be willing to adapt, willing to be flexible, ability to solve problems for one another and help one another, emotional awareness, social support, sense of humor. The final is the management. How do you manage yourself? Self-control. We've said it before. Be happy with yourself. You need social support. Help one another. Care for one another. Be optimistic. The ability to solve each other's problems. Take away your emotions. Be yourself. Believe in yourself. Have a sense of humor. There are people that you cannot stay with. There are people, when you stay with them, you'll be very happy. Joy, happiness, goodwill. And remember, nobody will make you happy. You just have to make yourself happy, no matter what you are going through. Don't give up. I say, don't give up. And finally, I say, you look at the last flower down there. Can you scroll to the last flower, please? You see where this flower begin to brood from underground, the last slide, yes. Look at the way it struggles all along to tear it out and see it glowing, flowering. And look at these people struggling to jump across. You can make it. There is no cause for alarm. Peace be still. It must be well with you all. Thank you. Thank you. And finally, I say, don't give up. Thanks and God bless you all. Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma. Thank you very much for such a wonderful presentation about resilience. Today we got to learn, I hope we got to learn a lot from Mommy about how to overcome resilience and the types of resilience that would occur, and also the 4 A's and the 7 C's of resilience. So definitely it's time for questions and answers. Do we have any questions or any clarifications we have for Mommy before we go to the next speaker? If there is none, I'd like to just say one thing about the presentation, Mommy. It was really nice to actually see that we have the mental, emotional, social, physical type of resilience, and the fact that our contribution and our coping actually doesn't depend on ourselves alone, but also depends on other people, and how we draw energy, actually share energy amongst them. Thank you very, very much, man. So definitely now we really enjoyed your presentation, and now we're moving to our next speaker, who is going to tell us about the history of Russia and Ukraine crisis. A lot of us would actually wonder, why is there so much talk about the Ukraine, the Russia, and also the NATO? But today we'd have Engineer Ezekalu Imo, which is the chairman of Onyeze Russia, to actually give us a brief introduction and also tell us why. Give us that info about what's the curiosity about, what's the news about, and definitely welcome Mr. Ezekalu to actually take the floor. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hi.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I started living in the Soviet Union. That has been from 1986 up to date. So practically, I can say I witnessed the transition from socialism to the current state of this region of the country, eastern region of the country, as it's geopolitically called. And you know that there's, and I was given a very, I think I have a little time here to talk, but we can't talk about the history of Russia, Ukraine, and the Eastern Bloc under 10 minutes. So I will try and, go through certain things. So you find out that during the Soviet Union, there was a mixture of every ethnic group in this bloc. In Russia alone, currently, we have more than 100 ethnic groups. Likewise in Ukraine. So you find out that Ukraine has got a group of ethnic groups and comprising Russia, Hungarian, Polish, Germans, and so on and so forth. So we find out that this mixing up has taken place right from time immemorial, back in the 15th century. So before I continue, I want to make people understand I'm not endorsing the war. I'm not endorsing the action in Ukraine, or am I endorsing anything that brings violence into the situation. There's always a sitting table to negotiate. But most of the time, negotiation is always at odds, especially when a third person is involved. And of which my theme is based on the role of NATO, I think. Yeah, looking at the role of NATO. So we see now NATO as a third person in this crisis. Russia and Ukraine has been living since, I think, let me take you back a little bit, since 1648. You know, when the struggle against the Polish-Lithuanian aggression ended with the liberation war of Ukrainian and Belarusian people under the leadership of one Bogdan, and the unification of Ukraine with Russia, which was called the Pereyaslav Rada. Then in the left, the left bank of Ukraine gained autonomy within Russia. So wait a minute, please. So then within Russia, this was called the Hemanate. The Hemanate, in its confrontation with the powerful Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, was forced to seek support from third countries. The most successful negotiations were with the Russian state. Then in 1654, the Pereyaslav Rada was convened, asking for acceptance of the Zaporozhian army under the protectorate of Moscow Tsar. In accordance with the Pereyaslav Treaty, Russian troops supported the hetman of the Zaporozhian army. The Treaty of Pereyaslav included the following main provisions: Ukrainian land with the Poltava region, Kiev region, Chernihiv region, most of the Volyn region, and Podolia joined the Moscow state under the name of Little Russia, as they call it here, Malaya Sea. And then this Malaya Sea was supposed to help the Tsarist troops in war, and Tsar is obliged to protect Ukraine from attacks. The role and the significance of the Treaty of Pereyaslav were variously assessed by both contemporaries and historians, but everyone recognized that thanks to this agreement, Ukraine was legally separated from the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth for the first time and was reorganized by Russia as an autonomous entity. Then in 1858, the hetman authorities of the right bank, Ukraine and Russia, were at war. Despite Ukraine's attempt to get out of Russia's influence, which we are also seeing today, the territory of Ukraine was divided between the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth and Russia according to the Address of Truce and of 1667, and the eternal peace of the 1686. In the second half of the 18th century, South Ukrainian lands were liberated from the Turkish yoke, and end of the 18th century, right bank Ukraine became part of Russia, where they enjoyed the right of broad autonomy within the Russian Empire. As a result of Russian-Turkish war in the 17th century, the Crimean Khanate was recognized as independent from an outside power, and in 1783, East lands were incorporated into Russia. So you see, Ukraine and Russia has been going back and forth, coming in and then separating, coming in and separating. And of course, This we can see up to the time of the Soviet Union, formation of Soviet Union, where Ukraine was again back into the Russian orbit. Let me put it that way. I want to call it orbit because the whole world is now arranged in superpower and the countries that are orbiting around them. I might say it's unfortunate that Ukraine is now under the orbit of, Russia, and US and every other country coming to, impose their authority might look, somehow awkward. As I said again, I'm not supporting the war in Ukraine. There's always a table for negotiation. So you find out on the eve of the middle of the World War, the Soviet Union moved into Poland, annexing east-western land to Ukraine. 6 new regions were formed in the territories annexed to the Ukraine, then Soviet Union. Union. In November 1940, the Bessarabia counties, this includes Moldova now and Transnistria and I think some part of Ukraine and Hungary. So we find out that almost 35% of Ukraine belong to this body. Then in 1945, the Transcarpathian region was annexed to the Ukrainian Soviet Union, SSR. SSR. It is at the border between Hungary and Ukraine. And then in 1954, on the personal initiative of the first secretary of the Communist Party, a Central Committee of the Communist Party of Russia, of Soviet Union, Khrushchev, the then secretary, the Crimean region was transferred from the Russian Soviet Union, the Soviet Union, by the decree of the President of the Supreme Soviet of the Russian Republic of the listen to the Ukrainian. So we find that now Crimea has been also moved back and forth, depending on who is in power. So the declaration of the state sovereignty, for all this period, Russia and Ukraine have been living as brothers and sisters. So most of the time when we see them saying that Ukraine is our brother or Russia is our brother, they understand their history. And it's unfortunate that I can't go in detail in all this history approach. But since we are aiming at knowing what is causing this conflict, that's why I just touched some of those important areas. And then, in 1990, pardon?
1 more minute, sir.
Okay, 1 more minute, but unfortunately, we can't make sense about the situation in Russia in 1 minute. I know we have time. So I hope you understand, or later on I can send the material to people, if you're interested to know the situation. See, a lot of things are involved in this process, so it's not something we can just say within 1 minute. If I might go to Ukraine has been trying to find its independence out of Russian economy, out of Russian everything. But unfortunately, the lines that is going to Europe passes through Ukraine. And this has been causing a lot of economic misunderstanding between Ukraine and Russia, where sometimes Ukraine was giving a discounted, a purchase of this gas, with the aim that this gas is passing through, transiting through their country. But sometimes, oh, sorry, please. So, of course, of recent, NATO promised Ukraine to consider its membership, of which Russia was totally against, seeing NATO as a military outfit at her doorstep. As history has it, after the fall of Soviet Union and the Berlin Wall, NATO started moving eastward, contrary to earlier non-hard copy, rather verbal agreement between the NATO leadership and then Soviet Union. This was, of course, in quoting the Russian government official, a red line for Russian security. And in, I think, 2003, when Ukraine has a presidential election, the West demanded from Ukraine to choose between Russia and Europe. The pulling of Ukraine into the European Union Association Agreement started. The agreement will provide for zero tariffs for Ukrainian goods in Europe and vice versa. Russia also had the same agreement with Ukraine in the context of the Commonwealth of Independent States. That's after the fall of the Soviet Union. In the scenario of, if this scenario occurs, Russia is not protected against European goods, which was part of the deal when they entered the World Trade Organization. The president of Ukraine decided to postpone this process after weighing in the implications. The Maidan erupted in Kyiv in February 2014 in protest to such decision by the president, despite France, Germany, and Poland being signatories to a negotiation between the president and the opposition to these policies. The opposition decided to create a government of the winners. That was not favorable to the Crimean parliament. The Crimeans at the eastern Ukraine did not support the decision of the western part of the country. The news carried it that Easterners were called terrorists since then, and then they decided to, liberate themselves from the Ukrainian. Hence, the war started.
Okay. Thank you, Engineer Ezekalu. We've actually spent over 10 minutes. It's actually, I do agree, a very, very lengthy topic that we can actually fit in 10 minutes. Yes. And you've actually given us like a brief history so we know the background story of actually how this war started and the division of the state. So now is the time for questions. I'd like to ask the audience if you have any questions you'd like to ask Engineer Ezekalu about this topic, about the history of the Russian and Ukraine crisis. Anyone in the audience who is actually critically curious like me?
You can start if you're curious.
Yes, I am actually. I do have a question. Probably this would actually be of help to others too, because a layman would actually look and actually think about what could actually be the influence of NATO when it comes to Russia and Ukraine, because these two countries have two different geopolitical influences when we talk about the supernatural power and the supernatural power, and when we talk about the orbits of country that actually circulates around this. But then we have NATO, which is actually a security alliance for countries. And the main reason, yes, please raise your hands if you have a question. And the main reason why NATO was actually created in 1949 was actually to fight and protect these countries against the then USSR. So now years have passed, but we can still see NATO playing a vital role within this law. So can you actually explain maybe in one or two sentences, why is NATO important in this dispute?
I'm not a military analyst. I'm a mechanical engineer, but so I'm talking from a layman view, which might be debated. After the World War, the blocks, got themselves in places. So you had the Eastern Bloc, which is called the Eastern Europe, and then you had the Western Bloc, which is Western Europe. There are Germany, France, and so on and so forth. But it happened that this Western Europe is in one alliance with America, forming the NATO. So contrary to this alliance was formed the Eastern Bloc also, which was formed due to the Warsaw Convention, Warsaw Pact. So you find out that two warring parts now formed an organization for themselves, to counteract any aggression or any, how do I put it?
Offenses?
Yeah, any offenses from each part. So it happened that towards the fall of Soviet Union, the Warsaw Convention Pact was dissolved. but somehow NATO remained. By right, NATO was supposed to get dissolved also, or something else should be formed. So now the question for from Russia was, if the Warsaw Convention has dissolved, why is NATO still, in power? Who are you fighting against? Who are you defending against? So eventually, Russia saw that NATO is now its opponent. And it has been said in history that NATO has now started moving eastward after the fall of the Berlin Wall, because the Berlin Wall was sort of a demarcation between the East and the West. So if the Berlin Wall didn't fall, NATO could have moved eastward, because if they have moved eastward, it means that the Eastern Berlin could have been inside a NATO enclave. So they made sure that the Berlin Wall fell, so that they started moving eastwards, where Poland and other Eastern former Soviet Union or former socialist countries were. So of course, coming so close to the border, this claiming, stating what the Russians have said, coming so close to their border is scary to them. It's a red line, as they said. Although the West have been saying, no, we are just, there's nothing wrong about it. But the question, why are you coming close if there is no question about that? So you find out that there are things that we don't know. There are things that we're not told. But sometimes history will bring it up. That's the problem we're having. So as I say again, there should have been no room for this fight if everybody has come to the negotiation table. And the NATO, as you see, had been supplying weapons and so on and so forth to Ukraine. And everybody can bear me witness that the NATO has never said, okay, this is a humanitarian provision that we're having for Ukraine or something like that. They say, we sold this weapon, we sold this weapon, we sold this weapon. And when I say certain things like that, people say, Imo is a Putin propagandist. No, we want to look into the reality of the situation. Why are you coming into my house if you have nothing against me? If you have something good for me, please let me see. So sometimes an adage goes that if a man says that his wife is not aggressive, let the wife, let him allow the wife take a knife and be sleeping in, at night. And then, of course, the next day the question will come, Madam, why are you sleeping with knife under your pillow? So that's the, the layman analogy of what we just said.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Although it's actually true, I do agree with you that if we actually have to speak of this in layman terms, it's actually not easy to make sense of the whole geopolitical situation, because it actually draws far back from history of this unification of both Ukraine and Russia, and also the main purpose of actually creating NATO. And as we know, with the relationship or long-standing relationships in arms deals and everything with the US and the Russia, we could actually say this is more or less of a diplomatic situation that's actually extended into a crisis, has become a dispute that affects more than everybody in the world now, because it's not just only affecting the Russian and the Ukrainians, although the Ukrainians have the latter part and the most severe part of it. But then again, would actually have to say that we hope for the best, and we do hope that the situation comes to end soon. They can actually come to a round table and actually come to a conclusion and agreement, which would actually favor both sides, although the level of favorism actually cannot be measured now. We just have to sit and look and actually be resilient, as Mommy has said earlier, and actually also compose ourselves within these nations. So thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. And before we go ahead, I'd like to say a few things. So to all speakers, we will have a timer right on our screens, and you can actually see the small clock by my video. So this is a timer. I'd like you to please pay attention to it when you speak. And when the time is off, it's definitely gonna go red. And this is actually to help us coordinate our timing and also the time we spend at speaking and also questions and answers. And definitely, yes, when the eyes is crying, the nose is affected, definitely. So this is the short notice I would like to pass on. And now give the floor to my co-host, Mr. Gabby, to continue.
Yeah, before we go to the next speaker, I would just like to ask again, is there no other person that has a question regarding the topic? I'm sure it's a very, very wide topic, and it's a topic of interest, a topic all of us have had interest in for a very long time. So is there anybody who has a question regarding the whole long distance history he has put forward? I think we have asked our questions. We've asked our questions. Anybody who has a question? So that I can understand better. I'm sure Mr. Imo has quite some knowledge to share. When I heard the name Mr. Imo for the first time, I was like, Mr. Imo. I was about to say my name is Anambra. I remember.
It wasn't. It's my real name, as it's normally said. Yeah, I want to know, please, why are people's video not on? Because it seems everybody. We need to know who is who. I think it's important that
You are right. You are right.
I want to ask a question, please.
Okay, please, who is speaking? Okay, Dr. Mapa.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for enlightening us so far. I'm very grateful. My question is, with the whole crisis, looking at the brotherhood and like what is going on so far, do you think do you foresee a time where there might be unity amongst these brothers? Let me say, like between Ukraine and Russia, looking at the level or the role the Western world is currently playing, do you think there would be unity looking at the future?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, if you have listened to the history of the back and forth of Russia and Ukraine, and then the Eastern Bloc, I mean, there's always after the rain comes the shine. So I don't think there's any doubt that there will be a peaceful time. But the thing is that people are dying. People are dying because I even have my late brother's daughter in Kyiv. So if I'm saying that I'm happy that there's a war in Ukraine, I'm just deceiving myself, because she's in Kyiv now, and nothing good is coming out of that situation. But as I said before, and it's also to support Madam Mapa. Listen, if you bring a third person in your family, to disperse you or settle your dispute, it always go a long way. So you find out that the NATO, the European, and the Western Europeans, and everyone that is involved in this, let me call it home struggle. And you find out that Africa, Asia, the Latin America, and they are all, they kept their distance from this issue. So you find out that the world is divided into two. There is no neutral person, as I see in this world. There's no neutral person. It's divided into two. It's not between the West and the non-West. Let me put it that way, because I don't know how to qualify the other. There's the Arab world, the Asians, the Africans, and the Latin Americans. I can't say that they're a particular distance. So we hope that there is peace, and there will be. It's already on the process. But since I'm not a political analyst, I'm a mechanical engineer, so I can only pray, as we're told in Nigeria, pray everything. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Can I make a remark?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
A little addition. In life, we disagree to agree.
Yes.
There's always a room for settlement. And in peace conflict resolution, you know that there's always a middle. Once that area is breached and understand one another, the greatest problem in conflict is disagreement, misunderstanding. The moment they understand each other's point of view, there will be peace. And just as Sakalu said, we are praying because you people are there, peace must be restored in Russia in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank
That is it. Thank you very much again, Engineer Ezekalu. For an engineer, you actually done a good job with the analysis. And now we're going to the next topic. So now the next speaker will talk about the critical analysis of the effects of the Russian-Ukraine crisis on the EU-Russian relationship at the moment. So basically, before we go into it, there's been this on and off with the EU-Russian relations. And as a political analysis, it's been interesting to see over the years how this has actually affected, how influenced this perception of the Russian diplomats and also the European diplomats. But now we have this geopolitical crisis at hand. And now the next speaker is going to tell us, through his critical analysis, how this has actually influenced or affected the EU-Russian relationship. So definitely back to my co-host to do the honors.
All right, and so this very, very interesting topic is going to be handled by Dr. Bashir Obasokola. Dr. Bashir Obasokola is the chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora, NIDO, in the entire Europe. So he's somebody who has got versatile knowledge, not only in Russia. Dr. Bashir is more of a father figure to all of us here in Russia because of how much he has contributed to the well-being and to the economic development of Nigerians here in Russia and in extension down to Nigeria. So he's somebody who has gathered versatile knowledge, not only about the operations of what is happening here in Russia, but in the entire Europe due to his position as the chairman of NIDO in the entire Europe. He has contributed very well to the evacuation of Nigerians from Ukraine, those other countries like in Romania, like in Poland. So he's somebody who knows very, very well about the occurrences, not only in Europe, but in the entire Europe. So thank you so much for availing yourself and your knowledge to brief us on this topic. You're welcome, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you are hearing me well.
Yes, loud and clear,
yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, thank you very much. And greetings to everybody and all my colleagues who have spoken earlier and everybody, you know, in this platform. Of course, I've been, asked to talk about the critical analysis of effect of the Russian-Ukraine crisis. Well, let me not go into history because I believe most of you are aware about the historical relationship between Russia as, Tsar Russia, that is, the monarch Russia, and of course the Soviet Union, and the subsequent division between the West and the East, along the war, the Berlin War, and of course the subsequent, division that took place in Europe after the Second World War. So historically, there have been some, where I can say suspicion, some differences between mainland Europe and, maybe you call it Western and Central Europe, and of course the Eastern Europe, where the Russian dominates. So I will just start from when we have the modern Russia. So the modern Russia was formed in the, after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, and the subsequent, development of Russia as a country. Russia Federation could be said to have, inherited relationship with the European Union from the Soviet Union. So the relationship that have been on between the European Union and Russia and Soviet Union was inherited by Russia. And as subsequently, of course, there were certain stereotypes, certain dogmas, certain, hard feeling or cold feeling that had been between them before the Russian as a new country came in. Of course, they became, the relationship always has some, like I mentioned, characteristics or characterized by pragmatism, stereotype, and suspicion. So these are the things that, characterize the relationship since the Russian Federation has taken, the place of Soviet Union in the relationship that grew in 1991. Nevertheless, of course, Russia aims to develop close and comprehensive partnership with the European Union based on the principle of equality, mutual benefit, respect for each other's interests. So these are the, the basic principles guiding the relationship between Russia and the Soviet and the European Union, which, of course, we can say it is, expectation of Russia. But everybody knows that it's also difficult to have an equal partnership in a relationship that one sees the other as inferior, and that has been the relationship, of course, because of trade, which is the major the major issues that link the two of them together. Because Russia, as we are all aware, has a very big trade relationship with the European Union, which is about 45% of total Russia's foreign trade volume. So you can see, for its part, Russia is the EU's 5th largest trade partner, which in 2015 accounted for about 6%, and in 2021 it's about about 7 or 8% of trade. So Russian and all EU members are members of the United Nations. Of course, as you are aware, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe and Council of Europe. These are organizations in which Russian and the European Union tend to interact and relate with each other in terms of civil and human relationship. In 2021, trade volume between Russia and EU stood at 247 billion, or almost 248 billion euros. Companies, EU companies make a large, significant share of total investment in Russia. So you can also see the significance of the Russian of the European Union's companies in Russia, given the large number of trade volume that have been between them. Cooperation in the energy sector. Of course, the energy sector is among the key priorities of Russian-EU relationship, which Russia, is the largest gas exporter and competes with Saudi Arabia and the United States as the largest producer and exporter of oil. The EU is the primary consumer of Russian energy resources. Russia firmly holds the position of key energy supplier to EU, supplying, about 40% of the EU energy needs, so which is in the form of natural gas and coal. So these are the situation of relationship that Russia has with the European Union. You can see that it's wide, apart from the human relationship, our cultural relationship. Of course, we have the economic relationship, which become the fulcrum of the relationship. So what happens? I know the previous speaker has spoken about, the crisis, the historical perspective to it, but the Ukraine factor on the relationship. So that's where the focus of today's topic, which is before the latest Ukraine crisis. Actually, before this last crisis, there have been some crises that have happened from, especially if we have to talk about the major crisis of 2014. 2014, there was, this, what the Russian call the coup, illegal overthrow of, the president of Ukraine at that moment, and which, of course, European Union stood as a guarantor of the peace accord that was between the opposition, the Ukraine opposition party, and the then president, which was to guarantee a smooth transition to a democratic process of if there's going to be any new election or any particular change of government, that it should be a smooth democratic process of achieving this. That was the agreement signed with the president then. As a result, there was expected to be a little bit of calm. What was the main cause of that crisis, internal crisis of Ukraine? was the issue of Ukraine government, trying to sign an agreement with European Union as an associate partnership with European Union, which will have given some privileges to European Union coming into Ukraine economy, and also products of that economic activities being shared or being taken from Ukraine into internal of the CIA countries. And the CIS countries are these former Soviet Union, which Ukraine has also a special treatment in terms of their import duties, movement of human and capital is also liberalized within the CIS countries. So the CIS countries, especially, of course, Russia is the major spearhead of that organization, had to say, okay, Ukraine, if you wish to move to European Union, that means that some of these privileges that we are giving you from the CIS countries will be reviewed. So you have to weigh the two, which part of the Europe that you wish to belong to, while maintaining your economic, privileges. So that was the core issue. And of course, it became a major crisis because of the historical animosity between the core Ukraine ethnic group and Russians as an ethnic group. There's always been that historical animosity about them, one trying to prove to be the elder brother, or the other trying to prove that they are the historical, real Slavic, that became the Russians, or also say. So that has been the issue. So it was capitalized upon by the West, of course, which of course has always been waiting for such type of divisions. Because wherever there is internal crisis in any country, of course, there's always these superpowers who always come in to take side. And that was the issue. Instead of people, trying to make peace, of course, some of them decided to take side. And that developed to a bigger problem, which, of course, at the end of the day, led to a big division within Russia, within Ukraine, that has more than 40% of its population as Russian, ethnic Russian and Russian-speaking ethnic groups. So that was the situation of things then. Then the European Union, of course, based on the perception or the understanding of Russia, that coup that happened and was also recognized by the West as a legitimate change of power, became the core division between Russia and European Union. Russia, of course, being the major custodian of Russian ethnic group, decided to defend its own ethnic group that is located or based in Ukraine as a country. And that's how Crimea happened. Of course, you know what the history of Crimea, how Crimea was also taken away from Ukraine, and also Ukraine, the eastern side of Ukraine, which is Lugansk and Donetsk, they decided to have their own separate states, of course, which of course Ukraine as a government would not allow, and of course that led to war. And European Union decided to dwell into the issue and mount a lot of pressure on Russia, and a lot of restrictions and sanctions were put on Russia, which decided to be extended every 6 months. So this latest crisis, which now led to war, is now the core of the major, which now became a wide world, crisis, which involved United Nations, United States get involved, of course, and that became a big issue of sanctions being strengthened and widened to the extent of what we are seeing now. Of course, what we are seeing now is we don't know the end of it. Some of the companies are leaving Russia. The foreign companies are leaving Russia. They are divesting from Russia. They are moving their investment. They are also giving away, some of the privileges that they are giving Russia before, now taking them away. Especially now, there's even talking about embargo on oil and gas. Of course, I know it's going to, it's already affecting European Union citizens. They are already shouting over there. They are already spending a lot of money to manage themselves. But one thing is very important, which is this issue of war. Will it lead to war? NATO was supposed to be, a military organization that should not be, a political, instrument, but it has now become a political instrument, which of course has given it, that privilege or that instrument, that tool to use anytime something is not going the way the West wants it. So we just hoping that that will be, reason from the world leaders, and that at the end of the day, there will be that, opportunity of the war becoming maybe a manageable, because, somebody has asked earlier that with Russia and Ukraine come back to themselves as brothers. Of course, we that studied in Soviet Union, we take them as brothers, and historically they are actually brothers. You can speak their language. They have little, differences. Culturally, they belong to the same group. Religiously, they belong to the same group. So you can see that they are brothers. But this war that's happened, of course, is going to lead to a generational hatred between the two of them. But what happened is that Ukraine might not remain the same in terms of the cohesion within their state system, because they still have Russian ethnic groups. So that's what I will say as of today, that is what we have observed and what will happen. But one thing which is very important is the way we relate to it. We as third party, we should see them, we should not take side. We should rather plead for peace. And that's what I think the Nigerian government should be doing, and any one of us that has influence is to appeal for peace. And I think if we all do that, there will be peace. Of course, there might not be harmony, but there will be peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bashir. That was a very, very wonderful one. And I'm sure we learned so much about this in the history of how Russia and the European Union have maintained a relationship over the years, and a little bit of how it has affected that relationship because of the ongoing special military operation happening in Ukraine. Thank you so much for the enlightening. All right, so at this point, is there anybody who has a question that would like to ask about the current situation? Maybe something the person is not clear about. But before that, you said previously, of course, over the years, Russia, like you rightly stated, Russia has been responsible for the 40% of this in oil and gas export into the European Union. So how exactly is the situation now as regards the import of oil and gas into European Union with the current situation? What has been the resolution? Has there been a total embargo, or is there still import of Russian oil and gas?
Well, as of today, the importation is still going on. Of course, it's still even what I can say, because there was a statistic that said that even the importation is even about 13% or thereabout, higher than the normal time when you compare it to previous period. So that means that, of course, European Union, while they are even planning for future, trying to say, okay, they want to reduce their dependency on Russia in terms of gas, but they are also equipping themselves towards that by importing more, maybe to keep, so that it will take them a long time before they eventually say. But the discussion is still going on. There is still not cohesion within the European Union, because European Union, consists of a lot of countries, and these countries has some various degree of dependence. Some has 20%, some has 50%, some has 40%, some has 60%. So those countries that have 60% depending on Russia, the dependence on the oil and gas from Russia, of course, those ones will never, countries like Hungary, country like Serbia, those countries, they will never go just like that, removing oil dependence from oil, even Germany also. So what they want to do is to delay the process while discussion with Russia is going on, and try to see other alternatives. Of course, America is offering its own, product for sale. Of course, they are also going to other countries to discuss with them. I even heard that Nigeria is also being invited to increase its own gas export to Europe and make use of this opportunity. Of course, Venezuela, even though they have been at loggerhead with America, they've gone back to Venezuela to ask for Venezuela to come in. They've gone to Arab Emirates, they've gone to Saudi Arabia. So they are approaching all these countries that has gas and oil to come and replace Russia. But those countries are telling them that it's not going to be easy for them to do that. It's going to take some years, maybe about 2-3 years. Some might even say 5 years, some say 7 years, for them to be able to find alternative to Russian gas. So there's no alternative. It is cheaper because Russia has that the pipeline. You can Nord Stream 2 have been built. It's ready for use, but it's not being used currently. Of course, there's Nord Stream 1. There is also the other European that passes through Ukraine, and also the South, gas pipeline that goes through Turkey. So these are channels through which these countries are getting this at this moment. So the embargo is not yet decided, but they are discussing with it. America is pushing for it. They know that is the major source of Russian, income. So they want to stop that. That's their approach. But it's not going to be an easy ride for them. Of course, from the Russian side, also Russia is also looking for a way of punishing them by saying, okay, they should be buying this gas in rubles, and that one is not going well with them, because that is the purchase of gas and oil in dollars is the major tool America is using to control the whole world. So anybody who wants to remove that is going to face a very severe resistance from America, and that's what they are going to do with Russia. Russia is not going to find it easy, but Russia is, hopefully, if they stay on it, then they're able to break that chain. That means that, of course, America has to, dollar will suffer for it, because other countries will know that you can, force the people to buy your products in your local currency.
Okay. So speaking about the changing of payment method to rubles, we previously had President Putin had declared April 1st, the date that all this purchase of gas will be made in rubles. However, certain countries have declined the option, but they are still buying. So how is it possible? They declined. Putin said 1st of April. So what is currently happening? Or has Russia abandoned the idea?
And no, they haven't abandoned it. But what happened is that there are countries that has contracts signed. Some of them will be expiring soon. Some already from 15th of May. I think that's most of them from May. Sometime in May. So after May, we still seeing what will happen. But some other countries are already agreeing to it. But what happened to those major countries, especially European Union members, who are saying, of course, what they normally do is they go to European Union to discuss it, and whatever is said. I heard yesterday that the Polish Prime Minister was saying they are waiting for the decision of the European Union. Whatever European Union says is what they will go by. Of course, we know what it means. That means that if in case they refuse to say, okay, they want to buy in the rubles, of course, the European Union member will say they are not going to buy in rubles. Then it becomes like, okay, maybe that Russia stops supply, or something happen, or maybe a new negotiation takes place. But at this moment, it's still on the decree from President Putin is still on ground that they want these people to, especially those ones who are sanctioned against Russia, to buy those, the gas and oil from us in rubles. So, and let's wait and see. After May, 1st of June, we see what happens.
It's okay. All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time and the knowledge you have shared here with us. So at this point, is there another person who has a question, or are we going to say thank you and goodbye to Dr. Bashir?
Dr. Bashir, I do have a question out of curiosity, because listening to your presentation closely, I have actually seen that you actually more or less like a political analysis, or actually been able to analyze the relationships between these three entities.
That's right. Right.
It actually, out of curiosity to know, what do you think, in your opinion, as the actions of the EU and the US actually served as a critical blow onto Russia, or do you think they can actually bounce back from this and actually be like the next China, like political analysis would say right now?
Well, it is, Russia has actually been preparing for this moment. You can see from what they have been doing from, especially after the coming back of President Putin. You can see that he has seen the difference, and he has seen that the insincerity of the relationship. And that has given him some of these things that he's doing, that, okay, he's preparing his ground for, for internal dependency of themselves and looking toward the eastern side, or especially China. You can see the relationship between Russia and China being developed very fast. And even the Arab world, and of course the Far East and Africa, of course, also looking towards Africa. Of course, even though Africa is a weak partner here because we don't have a say, unfortunately, whatever our colonial master says is what we are following. And of course, our financial, which America, of course, finances the whole Africa. So they are the ones dictating to us. Unfortunately, even though we're supposed to be neutral because we have what we call the non-aligned movement, exactly, which we're supposed to stick on, but we are always waving. Apart from South Africa that stood its ground, of course, other African countries are just shaking. But unfortunately, we cannot help it because we are attached to them. We are attached to America, attached to UK, attached to Germany because of economic reasons. But I think Russia will suffer a bit, but we're going to overcome it if they persist, because you need to suffer to succeed. And I think if they resist this moment and carry on with what they plan to do in terms of removing the dependency on the West, gradually they're going to succeed and become, country like you say, second China, in terms of their, how they look inward, develop whatever they have, and based on that, they have all the potential to do it. They have the resources. They have human resources also. Is to encourage people to be self-reliant. So I'm optimistic that Russia, but they're going to be suffer for some time. That's true. So inconvenience will come, but if they stand their ground, they will succeed.
Thank you very much for your answers. Now, the floor is yours, Gabby.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Right. Can I ask Dr. Bashir a question, if possible?
Of course, sure. Go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you. Looking at, I haven't listened to how Dr. Bashir analyzed the whole situation, and as the co-host has said, he's a good political analyst. And if you look at the way Dr. Bashir dresses morning, he dressed actually like a real Awoish, like real Awolo. So you can understand where it's coming from. But I want to listen to you, sir. You're very careful in your choice of words and analyzing your perspective about this whole situation. But would it be right or just if we conclude that Russia has long prepared for this situation? Now, what we are expressing now is not a surprise situation to Russia, and other is something impromptu to the Western world. But looking at the way Russia has been able to call bluff out of the Western country, the mayor put in place the strategic relationship with Saudi Arabia in particular in terms of America praying them to increase oil production, and they've been refused to do that, leading on the side of Russia, looking at the long-term relationship they have shared with America in particular, and looking at the capital expenditure that Russia is shipping out at this critical period of time to boost their economic growth and sustaining their livelihood. Will you say that, is it right for us to say that Russia have seen this coming for a long time, and this is not all new, it's a well-planned game?
Yeah, I've said it earlier that, of course, Russia have been warning the West, especially when the NATO started expanding, which was a negation of, the agreement which they had when Soviet Union. You remember there was also what we call the Warsaw Pact. The Warsaw Pact was another group which was to balance the military groups, NATO and Warsaw Pact. But that Warsaw Pact was dissolved based on the understanding that there wouldn't be that expansion of NATO. They were even looking forward to NATO being dissolved in future or becoming a ceremonial club of Europe, of the world, of maybe America and Europe. But everything changed when NATO started expanding, and Russia had been warning and saying there's red line, but it seemed they were not being listened to. And of course, when Russia discovered that, especially after observing what happened in Chechnya war, when they discovered that most of the European countries were supporting the separatist movement in Chechnya, they also discovered what happened in Georgia when Ossetia was being attacked by Georgia. So after observing all those things that were happening and the way European Union were reacting to them, of course, Putin believed, and remember that even the West did not want Putin to come back as president again, after Medvedev, because what they were thinking about, they knew that he has known a lot and was looking for opportunity of coming back to correct the relationship and the way things were being done before, because he was naive, I can say, at the beginning. And at the end, he came back, changing some of the things that he knew that were loopholes, and building this type of situation where Russia can become an independent on its own, especially when it comes to economy and foreign affairs issues. Because he saw what happened in Libya, because Libya was, if Putin was supposed to be the president at that moment, I don't think Libya would have been destroyed as NATO did, because Russia would have stood against it. But Russia made a lot of concessions, and coming back was to correct it. And so he was preparing for it. So I believe that, yes, you are right, that he has been preparing for this type of situation whereby he can, call a bluff of the West. And of course, that it became a war because of the expansion of NATO and threat of, membership of Ukraine. Of course, it was like a surprise to all of us, but at the same time, it's not a surprise if you look at the strategy and also the warning that have been taking place since all these years. And I think it is also a lesson for all of us in Africa that we should, be strategic and look forward to becoming an independent continent, an independent state, an independent economy that can also stand on its own. You can see that 300 billion of Russian assets or national reserve have been seized. So that means that if you have your dollars as reserves, it's vulnerable. Unlike what was the case before, because people thought, oh, when you have your national reserve in dollars, you are safe. But now you can discover that Americans can just say, okay, this money, don't give it to them, and you become a zero country. So Russia, if they had not been very strong, they would have collapsed. The economy would have collapsed immediately. America put an embargo on their national reserve, half of their national reserve, which is a huge amount. And you can see how it affected rubles immediately. But now they are rolling back, but at the same time, they still having a lot of things to do. So it's a lesson to all of us, and also it's an history that we are witnesses to. Thank you.
Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Bashir.
We're not hearing you, please. We are not hearing you. Your voice is squibbling.
Sorry, Mr. Gabby, you're actually inaudible. But if I may be of help, thank you very much, Dr. Bashir. That was a very, very great critical analysis, like you've actually said, and we've actually been able to learn one or few things and actually see the intentions from a layman's view, like you actually said, because we're not actually full-fledged political analysts. We're just trying to be there. And with our little knowledge, we've been able to flesh out this topic and this very interesting and very controversial also topic at hand. So thank you very much for your time, sir. Thank you very much for sharing your insights with us. And thank you very much for everyone who asked the question. And I do hope we are now enlightened and we also have little more knowledge about what is actually going on right now. And we can confidently at least say something when we're actually having a conversation outside and actually sound intellectual. Okay. Yes, okay, so thank you very much for that. And now to my co-host, Gabby.
All right, so am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, all right. Sorry for that. I think it was a problem with the network. So for now, we'll be moving on to our next topic. In physics, we are always reminded that for every
Your mic is off.
sorry, did I go audible? Did I go inaudible?
Yes, but we can hear you clearly now.
All right, okay. So for our next topic now, of course, for the special military operation in Ukraine as well, just like every decent action, as we are already told in physics, it's expected that we are going to have effects and results are going to be produced. But however, these results are definitely not entirely negative. There are positive decent results, there are negative results. How has the entire situation affected Nigerians here in Russia is what we are going to discuss under the topic, the positive and negative effects of the Russian-Ukraine crisis on the Nigerians in Russia. And this topic is going to be handled by
Mr. Ezeronye Julius, and this is the Vice President of the Igbo community in Russia. Would like to welcome you, sir, to actually share your insights with us on the positive and negative influence of this current crisis. So thank you very much, sir, for making our time to join us today. The floor is yours,
Thank you so
sir.
much. Thank you so much for having me. Am I audible enough?
Sir,
yes, you are, sir.
You can see, maybe let me start by saying, I'm like reporting from the war zone. When Joy picked the first date and invited me, I was delighted. But some issues came up. I have to visit my friend. In fact, I'm presently at maybe in one of the warehouses of my friend who, based on this issue of crisis, also fell into crisis based on the goods he deals on. So I have to come over here. Unfortunately, some things went wrong. So I'm sorry for delaying. And I want to also thank Joy, especially. I want to thank her especially for what she's doing and the presenters. I'm sorry, other speakers, I couldn't hear you, but I know the thoughts of Engineer Imo, and I know the thought of our NIDO chairman, Europe. I had a little bit of what he said. Now, I'm asked to talk about the positive and the negative effects of this war on Nigerians in Russia. And I want to start by saying, don't mind whatever I tell you here. I think it only affects Nigerians in Russia. No, the effects of this crisis have deeply affected even Nigerians in Nigeria. Because I made some few calls and I was told bread now is 600 naira per loaf. Immediately this crisis started. That is our Nigerian method. Whenever we hear that it's going to be shortage, we increase our prices. So the effect of this crisis even has gone down to Nigeria. Now, bringing it down, narrowing it down to Nigerians in Russia, there is a lot of job opportunities in Russia. We have a committee that deals specifically on job employment. There is a committee on that. And when this crisis started, they called me and told me to stop directing people to the committee because there are no more jobs available. Not because there are no jobs available, just because the kind of people, we Nigerians, the majority of us here have this disability of speaking Russian language fluently. And most of the jobs in Russia, if you cannot speak fluently or write it, you will get only a category of that job opportunity that is open. So now when this crisis started, most of our Nigerian brothers, sisters here who are not good in Russian language have always been working with construction sites, most of them, because there you don't need any language. You don't need any Russian abilities there. So there have been job opportunities in that real estate business for Nigerians here. But because of the new crisis and the sanctions, the interest rate on mortgage went high. People are no longer buying as they should. So the job opportunities really fell down so low that not so much is coming to our people anymore. Another part of it is the food chain business, McDonald's and the rest of them. Those areas closed. Most of our brothers and sisters do work there very nicely. And that was a big opportunity because I can tell you, we Nigerians have been able to go into that sector very well, that they know that Nigerians are hardworking and able to deliver whatever you put before them. So many managers in most of those food chains are always asking for Nigerians to come and work for them. So it was okay for us until the crisis started. And now that job sector have also been lost. And we came here actually with the hope that we'll be able to make more money, greener pasture, study and work. All those things are, streamlined to the fact that the economy of Russia depends on those our ambitions. So if actually we cannot, stay be in the Russia where there are no sanctions, and we expect the other way that we will grow with our ambitions, it's not possible. So the crisis has really cut down the job, for us. Now, like where I'm reporting from, my friend who deals on fashion, he has a lot of boutiques. For almost 2 months, a month and some days now, ordered for goods to come in from Europe. Unfortunately, those goods just came in. And that's one of the crises that even made me to come to see him today. Because those goods are supposed to come 3-4 days after, and they are coming now. The season has changed. So unfortunately, he has to pack some of those goods away because he cannot sell them anymore for now, because the season have actually changed. But he ordered these goods before now. So that's a big challenge for even those who are in that particular sector of business. Above all, I will not fail to say one big problem that is also facing Nigerians here now. The cost of Obusi, Ogbono, crayfish has gone so high that now we don't eat Ogbono soup the way we do eat it before. Things are becoming, we are going to depend on Kuruni soup now more, because the last time I realized, my wife told me when she was serving me, the soup was not enough. I asked her why this quantity. She told me, do you remember how much we paid last time for these items? So that actually have affected our normal way of life, remembering home by eating our African stuff. So if you find out that our African restaurants are affected by this, our Afro shops are affected by this. They cannot bring in plantain, they cannot bring in yam because the flights delay and take longer time and the rates are so high. Now, those of our brothers who actually want to travel home to be able to regularize their document in Russia, unfortunately now ticket is almost 150,000 rubles. Most of them now are stranded. Those of them who have gone home the first time to get their papers legalized properly and come back, they get trapped. Coming back, they don't have the money to pay for 150 anymore. So those are the kind of challenges we are facing over this crisis. But as I said earlier, this is a general crisis that affects even the Nigerians in the US. Because my friend in the US told me that normally they normally just drive and meet a friend. Now they don't drive anymore. They now do a lot of Zoom. So you find out that as it affects us here, we can't eat manka well. It affects them there. They cannot even drive to their friend's place. So it is a crisis. Everyone should bring hands together to do what? Ask for help to stop. No matter what the world will say, Russians and Ukrainians are brothers. And it's unfortunate, just like our Nollywood Nigerian things we always say, whenever you see two brothers fighting, there is an enemy who shows himself as a friend, but with the intention of destroying that family. And that is what is actually happening here. So we have lost jobs, and the importation sector also has been affected. So exchange rates in Russia has gone so high. Our little brothers that send 5,000, 2,000, 4,000 to their families before, they think twice before they do that now, because the exchange rate has gone so high that it's not profitable again. By the time you send the money home, the money is like nothing. Our rate in Nigeria is high. The rate here is high. Who loses? Your efforts, your labor. You are just wasting it. So it's a big crisis that I'm asking and begging that everyone who can do one or two things to stop this crisis should encourage negotiation so that we can go back to the negotiating table and resolve this problem. After all, it's among two brothers. Now, just like the Bible will say, in all things, give thanks. You know, I'm a Christian, so I have to say that. In all things, give thanks. So let's look at the positive side. No matter the negatives we have talked about, there are some positive aspects of it that came up that I think it is an opportunity for Nigerians in Russia to look into. Some few days after this crisis and when the sanctions started, the mayor of sub-Moscow region came on air and made some declaration. He came and said that Moscow region, no, not Moscow, sub-Moscow region is bringing out 8 hectares of land already prepared for farming for just a fee of 1 ruble for 3 years. 1 ruble for 3 years. So they give you acres of land, you pay 1 ruble for only 3 years, and the land is already prepared for agriculture. Now, what am I saying? Most Nigerians in Russia, we don't farm. Most of our brothers in Spain, US, they farm. They are farmers, most of them. In fact, one of the common jobs to start with in those days is to go to the farm and get an easy job in European, when I mean Europe, I mean those who call themselves the Western world now. Now, but in Russia here, we don't go to the farm. Nigerians don't go to the farm. So immediately he made this announcement, I called my partner and told him that, look what I just heard. He said, yes, he will look into it. And immediately our company applied. And to take it serious, they called us and they gave us all the forms to fill and what to do. So the land is available for you to just come and invest. Now, there is also a credit line attached to that program, a Greek loan, that you have also a holiday on it. So I'm worried that when things like this happen, Nigerians, we don't look beyond the moment. We want things to happen now. No one is ready to go beyond now to achieve millions tomorrow. So I am encouraging Nigerians to go back to the farm. Our former president Obasanjo, Baba himself, said one thing. He was asked at the airport, your occupation, sir? He said, I'm a farmer. Russia have good land to farm. And you don't need to go far away from Moscow. It is 5-6 kilometers from MCAD, 10 kilometers from the MCAD. The land is available. The finance, by the time you get all the papers done, the bank will support you with the finance to farm. Just choose the line of items you are ready to farm on, and you will get the land. So I am encouraging Nigerians that let's come together. First, I know it's something that is a massive project that one person, two people, maybe my company, our company alone, me and my partner, we cannot handle it alone. But let Nigerians come together and find a way to go into the farms because the opportunity is there now.
One more minute, sir.
Okay, good. I want to go briefly also to IT. President Putin has given a 3 years holiday for any IT expert with something to offer. 3 years holiday on credit, the one you're about to take or the one you have taken. If you have any IT program, app, or anything you can develop in IT, present it. Even in Mushroom, there's a platform where you can go and fill your form and tell them what you want to do. They will give you the money to do it, to develop it, and you will make your money. So the two things I want Africans, Nigerians today to look into is farming, agriculture, united. Russia has opened that door for everyone to enter, including us, Nigerians in Russia. Thank you. Sorry once more for actually coming late. And thank you for having me.
Thank you very, very much, sir, for that wonderful presentation. And we do believe that we've learned one or two things. So before we ask the questions, does anyone in the audience have any questions to ask Mr. Julius Ezeirinye? Okay, while we wait for you to raise your hands, I have a very short question. So, sir, when you talked about the positive and negative influence, you actually mentioned this agricultural expansion. So I'd like to know, this agricultural expansion opportunity, is it open to just anybody? Or are there some kind of rules or some requirements that have to be met? Because like we know, not everybody, or let's say all Nigerians within the diasporas are actually, we don't have equal, I'm trying to put it in a way not to sound offensive, but not everyone has the same requirements to meet. Some of us are students, some are workers. So are there any specific requirements needed, or this actually has to be done with a collective company, or can we actually go as an individual and actually take part and actually take advantage of this opportunity?
Thank you for the question. I agree, all of us are not equal when it comes to our opportunities.
Our status.
But there's one thing, okay, status, okay. Let me clear one thing. Our problem, Nigerians, is we don't know how to come together. Most Nigerians here have Russian passports, have companies. And we have students who, some of them are doing agriculture now. I know of a Nigerian who studies agriculture here, and he's working for one of my friends in his warehouse. And when you open up a farm, we need his service.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying here now, if we have students who are good at whatever, it doesn't matter what you have. It matters what you have in you, not physical, what you have in you. We bring it to the table. Our company applied. I don't have any knowledge of agriculture. My partner doesn't. So we anyhow, we need experts. Why not get those experts among ourselves and to be a kind of joint venture? We get the credit together, we brainstorm together, and we invest together. So you bring what you have in the upstairs, and I bring maybe the documents and the platform. We have applied, for example, already. So if you have a company, you can apply. When it comes to that of the IT, you can just go to Mosru. There is a platform there where you can apply. Even if you're a foreigner, you can apply, yes. The agriculture is more massive, but the IT, no. All you need to do is just get yourself, if you just have registration, let's just say like that, you have at least 3 years registration. You understand? Okay. Or you are a student, you have your student registration. Okay. That is, you are good to go.
I have a very, very quite question, which is actually out of curiosity and inquisity. So we know that Russia's climate system is actually different from that of Nigeria. You know, Africa is a tropical nation, and Russia is actually quite different depending on the climate. So when we're talking about farming, what kinds of goods are being farmed here? And is it just seasonal? Because if we talk about agriculture, would they still be able to work during winter, let's say, because of the snow and everything? So how does this system of this agricultural expansion work, and how is it even beneficial to us? How can we really say this thing is going to make way for us like all through the year? And how can we actually say it's a viable option or a positive influence from this whole crisis?
Thank you. First, let me, maybe if my partner will not be angry with me, but I have to give you you people some tips of what we have in mind. In what we intend doing, we intend rearing goats. Nigerians eat a lot of goats. So we are going to rear goats, then we are plant corn to feed the goats.
Okay.
And potato to feed the goats. So if we don't know Nigerians don't like milk. So we want to face the goat meat we know Nigerians like. And then we even intend to bring it up to packaging chain of it, not only selling it fresh, but package it to that extent. Now, I want to also explain to you that there was this Nigerian lady who studied agriculture here, and her program planted ugu. I don't know, maybe people will tell. I'm trying to find the English word for ugu. I'm so used to it because Yorubas, Hausa, everybody calls it ugu. So I don't know.
It's pumpkin.
Pumpkin
leaves. That's the English of ugu.
Thank you. Yes, she actually planted that here, and the thing grew very well. And we intend actually locating her to go back to that, because I'm telling you, if we get that, all these soup we are. Now let's look at yam. Yam example can be planted in bags. It's not a must to keep the yam. You know, you can plant yam in bags up to 1,000. Make greenhouses for it, which will take us longer than the normal Russian season. So actually, Russians plant what they eat for the whole year, just for those period of time we have. But we can extend it with the greenhouse and plant something like tax. Okay, but I have a friend who does it in Nigeria. He's doing so well. Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Moses, you have a question? Please, you are free to.
All right, good afternoon. My question is, for the IT sector, what will it take for someone to apply? Must the person be in Russia or your documentation? Okay, the reason I'm asking, okay, I am from Ukraine. So for us to apply for anything now, must we be in Russia or must we have Russian documents? Thank you so much.
Are you studying in Ukraine?
Yes, I'm studying in Kharkiv, National Aerospace University.
Okay, good. There was this announcement I was supposed to make. I was told that Russia have asked all foreigners who are studying in Ukraine where there's crisis and cannot continue their studies to relocate to any university in Russia here, they will be accepted. That door is open. My wife confirmed that to me recently, that is an open door that should inform our people. Okay, now having said that, now one thing about IT is that you carry your investment around with you, which that is the best investment. So for me, IT, you carry your investment wherever you're going is in your head. Now, if you apply from there, you need to go through Moscow. That will be difficult. But there are people here who you people can brainstorm together. First of all, write an agreement with everybody. That's my point, my brother. You must make sure you have a written agreement that, okay, we are going into this. I have this kind of information. I want to apply. I cannot. This is the sharing formula. This is what it is. Then you can have your and when you need be, you can come over and actually defend whatever you want to, what you are presenting. So I don't want where you are to be a barrier to this. The most important thing is if you keep it with you there, it may end up dying with you. But if you bring it out now, it can produce money for you and for other people. Maybe you will not get the money alone now. You will get other people who are here who can, because you need to go through Moscow so that you can get the 3 years credit if you want to develop it, or if you have an old credit, the whole credit that is going on, you have 3 years holiday. So this is the conditions, positive conditions that actually I know we all need for it. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Sorry, I have some other questions. Speaking of which, I'll come back to the school. You said about Ukrainian students who are affected, like Nigerians, can come over to Russia. So we coming over, are we coming to start all over, or we are starting from the level which we stop? Is it going to be a scholarship, and how is the documentation? How is it going to be done? Then about the IT sector. Okay. What is the mushroom all about? Is it like a body, or how are they like? And how will I know who will I pair with in regards to my ideas in technological aspect? Thank you, sir.
the program, Joy, to you is available. Hello, can you hear me?
A bit.
Your line is cutting, sir.
Hello.
I think your network is bad. Your bandwidth is low.
I wobbling. Okay, is it better now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. Now, what I'm trying to say is this. First of all, Joy, you can come through Joy because she is this platform can be able to connect you with those who can help you. You understand? And those who can hear you out. And I'm very sure also Engineer Imo is an expert himself and he's a honest man. You can talk with him. It's not necessary you give out what you have immediately. You need to hear the person you want to deal with. So you hear him out. Then the Mushroom is a platform where you apply for anything you want to do in Russia now. You have to do it online. So that Mushroom, you have your personal table there, or they call it your personal office there, where you apply things. So like my company have, like me as a person I have. So all you need is someone who have that to apply. But the important thing here is that make sure you protect yourself with a written document that you are the one bringing up this thing, so that tomorrow and other stories will not come to it. Now, when it comes to students, what I understand very well is not necessary you go back to your, first of all, you will be assessed. First of all, you have to understand the Ukraine-Russian educational system, they are similar a little bit. So you will not have that difficulty in, we have the English, if you are studying English, of course, we have English universities here, faculties here. So you can still balance up. It's not much you will go and start all over again. About the scholarship, I don't know, but I think they can still do something about it. I don't think the same Nigeria dealing with Ukraine, Nigerians are still on scholarship here in Russia. So that will be a way. And I'm sure Joy, who is a Secretary for Student Affairs Nigerian Community, I think we answered that question well. She's a leader in what she does. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Dr. Joshua has just posted a link concerning that scholarship on this forum. So maybe people that are interested can copy that forum and then forward it to their loved ones. Let me put it that way.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Joshua, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
So thank you very much, Mr. Julius Cicerone, for your time, for your contributions, and also for answering our questions excellently. Thank you for everyone who asked the questions, and thank you very much to everyone who listened and also learned a few things from his presentation. So without no further ado, would like to bring on board our next speaker. But before we know, would like to give a short introduction. So the next topic we're talking about is the honest analysis of the role of mass media in Russia and Ukraine crisis. And as we all know, mass media is actually a powerful tool of political maneuvering. Mass media can actually decide to frame or actually bring a news as they desire. And mass media, as we know, also affects or influences the behaviors of people from how they should perceive a news, how they should see a news. And mass media has every tool and every power to actually just make the news seem as it wants to be. And today, we'd have our speaker to talk about how this analysis, like the role of mass media, how it has actually played in this crisis. And to introduce the speaker, I'll give the floor to my co-host, Mr. Gabi.
All right, speaker handling this topic is Honorable Joel Emeka Kingsley. Honorable Joel Emeka Kingsley is a dealer in automobile and real estate here in Moscow, Russia. Honorable Joel, honorable. Whenever we're introducing our honorable, we give him more respect. We will say honorable. Honorable Joel is the Deputy Welfare Secretary of the Nigerian community here in Russia. So I'm sure he's someone who will do a lot of justice to this topic. Honorable Joel, you are welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're listening from. I want to commend the host for this wonderful program. And I would like to excuse myself from not being on the video because I just came back from work and had a little bit sleep, and my face is not that bright. But I'll be talking on the topic, the honest analysis of the roles of mass media in the Russia-Ukraine war. I will start by defining what is mass media. I don't know if I'm well, if you can hear me very well. Hello?
Yes, loud and clear, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Mass media can be referred to a device array of mass technology that disseminates information to a wider audience. It's where information are transmitted via media such as film, radio, music, internet, and magazine. And we also know that on this, every country has his or her own law guiding mass media. Being a resident here in Russia, I will be speaking from the perspective of Russia background. Russia media, what is it based on? Is it their fundamental principles? Yes. Russia media law is based on fundamental principles that establish Russia constitution that gives freedom of thought, freedom of expression, and freedom of censorship. It's very important, censorship. And we understand that mass media also have its own advantage and disadvantages. On the advantages, it keeps us connected, like we are all connected here in the global world, discussing different issues. Yeah, it also helps our businesses. We're in a generation of e-commerce, and actually, this crisis has already started affecting a lot of e-commerce business owners. It gives voice to the voiceless, and it also empowers the already powerful. Let's note that down. It also empowers the already powerful. On the disadvantages, there's loss of privacy. Also, the after effect of this uncontrolled information can be disastrous, just as most of information that has been coming from Africa that we here in Russia can testify that it is not true. So we will look at what kind of media system does Russia have. Russia, like I have studied on their numbers of media outlets, they have over 83,000 active official registered media outlets, which is broken down in different percentages. If you look at the censorship here too, there are laws guiding the kind of information you relate to the public. So in this, I can say mass media plays a significant role in our society of today, not only in the Ukraine or Russia crisis. We can also see the positive, negative, manipulative effect of mass media in our society today. Even on the post-COVID, we can see how information was disseminated through mass media to guide us and keep us safe till today. And there's also a checkmate through mass media on the child abuse, domestic violence that have become rampant even from our country, Nigeria, and so on and so forth. Before I begin to explain on the mass media, the importance of mass media. So I can also go on like saying the current crisis in Russia, Ukraine has become completely markedly visualized, both from both countries and the Western world. This is why I talked about the advantages and the disadvantages earlier, because most medias are controlled by governments, and they give information that suits their own narrative. And most narratives also create panic, fear within the people. So I see it as there are a lot of propaganda in the media. We can see that the earlier stage of the crisis, how false informations were spread. And when I talk about the propaganda, you understand that most of the coverages of this crisis has been manipulated, in which governments, other activity, most governments of the world has used it as a mechanism in controlling the people, just as they did in the time of COVID. So I can say mass media has become a manipulated tool. And that is where I said in my advantages, it empowers the already powerful. The Western world, they are powerful. They own majority of the mass media. They give informations, most information, like I said, speaking from the Russia background that we are all in, most information are not 100% accurate. You understand? And that is why Russia also have their own way of censoring information. During the earlier stage, it was said that if you give false information, you are liable to go to 14 years imprisonment. This was to control fear and not allow, because in this time you see panic buying, panic relocation. People begin to move, not being sure of the accurate information on ground. And when there are censorship on mass media, for me, I think the mass media is not giving proper space to give first-class information, and this creates room for people who are unprofessionalized, individuals, small groups, to spread false information, which either causes unrest, panic, and sometimes they are state-sponsored informations that will definitely not make you have rest where you are. So the restrictions, are they good? Yeah, for me, the restrictions reduce fake news. It's either used to reduce fake news, or it is used to silence the other weaker country, or the non that has more enemies, silence them from not giving their own view. We saw how it has been happening here on Facebook, Instagram. You have to use VPN to go in. And then you look at TikTok. Majority of Russians are on TikTok, but TikTok has restricted Russian citizens or residents from posting current information. And for me, if you look at its advantages, is to stop fake news. But it's also, if you look at the other side, it's also to silence the Russian people, not to voice out what they are going through, the reality of things as it happens. So mass media for me is a very powerful tool in this Russia-Ukraine crisis. If we look at it, how it has been manipulated, you can also agree with me. It is a very powerful, and it depends on the messages that has been spread out. What are the intent of those messages? Is it for us to be afraid? Is it for us not to support our own government? Is it to create panic? For me, I use general word, panic. So, and the effect of mass media economically has affected both the Russians, the Ukrainians, even the foreign citizens here that does business. Most of our Nigerians does online business. Just few days ago, a cryptocurrency company has placed the law that if you are a resident in Russia, you cannot transact over 10,000 euro worth of values from your account. You cannot trade. You cannot buy. You can only withdraw. That it's really affecting the economic aspects of those living in both countries, because there are restrictions, like I said. to safeguard and also to silence some set of people or some countries that are involved. So for me, it has affected the young entrepreneurs that are into businesses, that showcase their businesses on Instagram. It has really affected so many businesses that we can talk about. So for me, it's a very powerful tool in settling.
1 more minute, Honorable.
Okay. Hello?
Yes, hello, sir. I just reminded that 1 more minute, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so for me, okay, I'll round up. For me, it is a very powerful tool in settling in the dispute between Ukraine and Russia. It can bring peace. It can revive the economy of both countries, despite we seeing the destructions that has mostly affected the Ukraine side of Ukrainians. So I can finally say mass media is a significant tool. It is either positive, negatively, and it can be managed if it is open and there's restrictions for everybody to voice out their view on how this crisis, this war is going, so that the wider world can understand and not have hatred, just as the superpowers has presented Russia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. So thank you very much, sir, for actually expanding and expatiating on the media influences on this current geopolitical situations. And we believe that we've actually been able to learn a few things about the influence and actually see beyond the fact that even though media is a form of entertainment, it could also be used as a political tool. So now to the audience, do you have any questions you'd like to ask Honorable Joel Kinsley? Okay, if we do not have any, thank you again, Mr. Joel, for sparing your time to actually have this wonderful conversation with us. We'd like to go to the next speaker as our time is fast spent.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Yes, sir. So next, the next topic we're going to be talking about is the effect of this crisis on students in Russia. As we all know, a lot of us students here are actually working and also being sponsored by family. And most often we receive calls from the beginning of the situation. How is everything? Oh, it's going on well. Are you sure everything is fine? Is the inflation really affecting you guys? Are you able to concentrate on studies? Are you psychologically fine to actually go through with studies and all? Because every situation actually comes down to you as a person. And to talk about this particular effect, we have a speaker which will be introduced by my co-host, Gabby. Over to you.
All right, so our speaker here today is a student leader, a fellow student, somebody very close to me. His name is we have another state here. Earlier on, we have Mr. Imo, and now we have Mr. Edo. At this point, I feel like I can say my name is Mr. Benue. It's Florence. She can be Miss Lagos.
I'll take Lagos State.
All right. So okay. So this topic will be handled by Mr. Edo Esehon Emmanuel, who is the president, Nigerian Students Union in the People's Friendship University of Russia, Moscow, Russian Federation. Thank you so much, Mr. President. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gabby. Am I audible?
Yes, you are loud and clear.
Okay, thank you so much, host and co-host, Mr. Gabby and Ms. Florence. And I would like to give special thanks to Mrs. Joy, for giving me the opportunity to speak with you guys today. So yes, speaking on the effects of the crisis on students, I wouldn't like to, take much of your time, but yeah, the thing is, when this crisis, first started, there was a whole lot of panic, in the whole of Russia, everything seemed so blurred. Students were complaining, contract students, on, payment of the tuition fee and all that. Then thinking about, our day-to-day lives, the stuffs, to keep us going in the magazines and all that. They were rushed quickly because people thought about the importation and the production of stores were going to go down drastically. So there was high panic, everywhere. But I would like to say now it's quite different. Yeah, it's quite different because everything has gone down. Speaking on the educational sector, it's really calm at the moment. Everything is cool. I would actually like to, also thank the Russian education, the federal education, the Ministry of Education, for how they were able to, attend to this matter and amicably, yes, and give hope to foreigners, in this case, Nigerian students, because we had lots of us who actually, were in deep situation given the exchange rate at the time. A lot of people were not able to, meet up with the payment of the tuition fees. Like, you understand, trying to buy dollars for like double the price was really difficult. But yeah, like I said earlier, the Russian government was able to handle this amicably, ensuring and promising us that at least no student will be expelled because of this. So that really helped, and it gave the push for students to be able to stay cool and calm, calculated and focus on the studies. So besides this major, situation in terms of the exchange rate and payment of tuition fee, nothing else was affected by the crisis in the educational sector. Yeah, because the plans are going, everything is going as planned, and classes are on, exams, everything is on. So yes, now I would like to actually pay more attention to the students who, were in Ukraine or escaped from Ukraine rather. But before I, talk about this, I would like to give special thanks to the Nigerians in diaspora organization, spearheaded by Dr. Bashir Basikola. Like, they've done a really great job with the diplomats from the embassy and all. Like the humanitarian assistance they're giving to our students, our Nigerian students, who fled from Ukraine to Poland and Romania, neighboring countries. It's they've done really well, and we can only applaud them and give them our thanks. But here, the Russian government has promised our students free education, and this is something I would like to emphasize on because I want every one of them to get an opportunity to hear this out. Because yes, it's a big deal. It actually is, It's more clear now because all our students have to do, I mean, the ones back home in Nigeria, the ones in Poland, like I said, the ones in Romania and whatsoever country they are in, they just have to, go to the Russian embassy and, submit the application so that by September this year, they get admission by the federal government into schools in Russia. Yes, and this is on scholarship. This is free admission. Yes, I'm saying this because by September, they get to start by year one, and then the various schools that they will be in, that would actually take them and absorb them, I would say, they would submit, proof of the stage they were at in previous universities, and then these schools will put them in, the positions they're supposed to be at. Like, for example, the ones that were in third year, fourth year and all that, they will get resolved by the schools they are in or they will get into. So this is actually really, really big for, foreigners, Nigerian students. We understand that the crisis is unfortunate that what is happening. It's affected a whole lot of, fields and, aspects in our lives. But then speaking particularly on the educational sector, they've actually done really well in handling this, because when you come out and you look at the academics, you see that everything is going smoothly. And yes, these students, they have to take this opportunity and come study because everything is in place for them. Yes, the panic was there at the start of the crisis, but right now the government has given us their words. There are no explosions, like I said. Everything is cool, everything is calm. So these students have to make these applications. I don't want anybody to miss out on this because, given previous seminars and interviews I've spoken at explains the significance of this opportunity. Like, it's not something you want to pass by, because we hope for the best in this crisis, in this situation, but then we don't know how long it's going to take for this to actually come down. So Russia in the educational sector is cool. Russia is okay. So these students should take it on scholarship. You know, they'll have a lot to gain, and then stipends, you know, being a scholarship student, they'll get, you know, little stuff to be able to take care of, you know, one or two things they need. So yes, this is the most important part of this topic when you talk about the current crisis in Russia. It is not so bad. It's actually, I would say personally, the best sector when it comes to this crisis, because it hasn't really been affected. And the parts where it would have been affected or it would have been terrible was, you know, dealt with properly by the educational, you know, the Russian government, the Ministry of Education. So yes, I'm really glad as the president, I had a couple of students in there with problems, you know, financial problems, trying to meet up with the payments and all. But now everything is okay. Everybody's studying. We were expecting, you know, soon our final year students to move on, graduate, and all that. So yes, it's really good. It's really good. Not minding the fact that, you know, the sanctions is hitting the economy, you know, in one way or two that we can't even see for now. But then for the academics, we can actually chisel our way through. We can go through it because it's actually fine. And the Russian government is with us. They've been with us right from time. Like the Russian trains foreigners in Russia, like they've actually for ages given Africans and foreigners the chance to study on free. And now they're doing it again, you know, as an act of, you know, solidarity for the foreign students that fled from Ukraine. So yes, you know, just not to take much, because, you know, talking about the students, you know, there are different, you know, situations, different talks, I'll put it like that. But these are the major things that the fact is clear that everything is cool. Yeah, everything is fine. And we here, we are not really suffering much. We're not actually seeing any problems in the academics. For those that would want to come, they should take the opportunity. They should take it. Apply to the various Russian embassies, wherever they are, in whatever countries they are, and, you know, get the admission against September. So when they get here, they resolve and continue from where they stopped. Yes, this is the message I would really like to pass out. And yes, once again, I would like to thank everybody. I'd like to thank the hosts, Mrs. Joy, the co-hosts, our moderators, Mr. Gabi, Ms. Florence. You know, I have our fathers in the house, our mothers here. I can't mention everyone, but thank you all. So yes, this is it. And I don't want anybody to have the idea that the educational sector in Russia is actually crumbling. No, that's not true, because I've been hearing some of that stuff. No, it's actually fine. The Ministry of Education, it's always had us at heart for a very long time. And, you know, it's growing strong. Yeah, it's growing really strong. So yes, let's just, you know, take this from me, and all will be well. So thank you guys for this great opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. President. Oh wow, that was a wonderful one. I'm sure you presented all the students. Ms. Florence.
Yes, you did. And thank you once again for keeping to time, Mr. Edo Osein Emmanuel. That was really informative, very brief, and it was super right on time. We didn't have to remind you about your time. So thank you very much about this topic of the effect of a crisis on students. And before we go to the questions, just a few words for me to just say. I would like to say, like, the effect on students, I would actually say depends on the psyche of the student, because I've had students from my university who actually complained about being psychologically burdened by the situation, because they had families and relatives in Ukraine and they could hardly concentrate on studies, which was actually quite understandable, because a friend of mine had her whole family down in Ukraine, especially where it was being attacked, and she wasn't able to keep in touch with them for like 3 days. So we see the influence is actually very dependent on students and depending on where we're coming from. But that being said, thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. So do we have any questions in the house? This is the last presentation for the day. So do we have any questions, general comments about what has been said by Mr. Emmanuel or any other person? Okay, we see Moses, your hand is raised. You can go ahead, please.
All right, thank you very much. About the school, what's the document that is required when applying, or we should just go to any Russia embassy in any country? Can someone apply for us? There are some countries that the embassy are not properly functioning, but can someone apply for us, maybe from Nigeria, or I don't really know.
Okay, so sorry, I would like to ask you first. What country are you currently?
It's in Ukraine. It's in Kharkiv. Wait, before we go ahead, Mr. Emmanuel, is it possible to share your contact?
Hello, I can't really hear what you're saying.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
You are audible, you are.
Okay, all right. So please, before we go to answering that question, is it possible, or let me share my contact, because since you have a lot of questions and you probably need some guiding. So I'll share my contact in the number. Mr. Emmanuel can, if it's okay with you.
Yeah, of course, you can share my contact.
Yeah, so that you need some guiding with the process of applying or any other details as regarding these topics, because I'm sure it will take a long time explaining the full procedures, and I'm sure you may need other information as time goes on with probably this procedure. So if you need any help, you can reach out, and we'll be glad to help.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so any other question to the student leader about the situation with students? All right, so in the absence of any question, before we close, I would just like to leave the floor open. Thank you to every single one of you who made time to be present here today, all our fathers, all our distinguished guests present here today. Thank you so much. Anybody who would like to give a remark before we officially close? Dr. Joshua, I see you.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's good to see us live.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for the great job. We're indeed proud of what we're doing. Thank you for informing the whole world as to what is going on currently. Like I've said, I believe that on aspects of students, more information can be gotten from our student presidents. They're doing a great job. I want to really say that business-wise, it's been really informative. Much more information we have heard this afternoon. Thank you so much. We're indeed very, very grateful. Thank you. For the person in Arkhov, we hope you're fine. We hope you're keeping safe. We can only wish you to be well, although I expected everyone to be evacuated already as at now. For you, I really don't know what to do concerning the embassy, because I'm sure the Russian embassy should not be functioning right now in Kiev. But then I think, like the president has said, we will put heads together to see what we can do. But to your colleagues who are anywhere else in any part of the world, they can just walk to the Russian embassy. I still confirmed this yesterday from the Russian embassy in Nigeria. And like you see on the broadcast I did at on Channels Television at the interview 2 days ago, I spoke about the same thing. I confirmed also from the Ministry of Education here in Russia. So it's an open space. And just like the president, Osaon is said exactly just the way students will not miss any year. They'll be put to their rightful place after they get in September. So I wish us all the best. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Joy, for a great job.
All right,
God
thank
bless
you, Doctor. All right, so any other remarks? Anybody who would like to give remarks to our convener, Ms. Joy, and to the program in general, would like to add anything? Mr. Apo, I see you.
Good afternoon once more. This is Imo talking again. I know the history I gave was not concise and based on, I mean, you can't tell a history of maybe 2,000 years in under 10 minutes. So I sent some links of where I drew my, my information and how, unfortunately, most of them are in Russian language, of which I have to translate to English before coming up to the to this forum. So, of course, for the non-Russian speaking members of the participants, it's unfortunate that you can't get that information, but the English ones are forwarded, and I hope it will help for us to help you to get a balanced, perspective of what is really happening in Ukraine and currently. As you can see, I personally, if I would be biased in my opinion, it's not war between Russia and Ukraine. It's war between Russia and the West. If we have seen the actions that are being taken by the Westerners and every other person that is involved in this crisis. So my prayer is still that come rain, come shine, there will always be the sun. So may God help us as we go through this.
Well, Russia has maintained that they are not in any war. It's just a special military operation, and we hope it doesn't have to become a war anytime at all. All right. So, if any other comment or remarks? Any other comment or remarks before we close? Okay. All right, so at this point,
sorry. Okay. All right. So.
Yes,
hello, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry, just to also commend the organizer of this event. It has been a very informative one, and I'm very pleased that you guys are very optimistic and also saying the truth as it is, as you are feeling it currently, because that's what I tell people. Of course, we are not soothsayers, so we cannot predict the future. But given the situation we are currently, things are still under control. We hope it will remain so. Like I mentioned earlier during my presentation, that of course we anticipate there will be some inconveniences that all these sanctions will cause, and of course some of them are already causing it. Like some of you have already observed that payment, transfer, jobs, these are challenges, but it's also an opportunity to change, an opportunity to also do something new. And so that's I think it should be the spirit. We hope that physically we'll be safe, and there will not be any mistake actions that might lead to Third World War. So I commend every one of you, and I hope we will continue to rub mind and keep each other in the picture of things, and that's what we do in NIDO. And I think all of you should also remain to sharing information and helping each other. Of course, I'm surprised that some people joining even from Kyiv, joining this platform, if I'm not mistaken. So that shows that, of course, life continues, even despite the destruction that is all over the place. But of course, people are still living, and hopeful that we will continue to survive and go through this trying period. And I commend all of you. Thank you for what you are doing, and that we should remain very calm and work reserved in our comments, and so that we will not also be put into problems by our comments or by our actions, even here in Russia and anywhere we go. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Mr. Imo, you still have something to say?
Yes, please, I have something to say. We have our brother from Ukraine, and it's unfortunate that we didn't get anybody from Ukraine to give us a perspective from that side. I don't know how informed he is on the situation in Ukraine. Maybe we can just get a picture of what is happening, and then we can compare with the information we have from other parts of the world. Maybe that can help us, analyze and balance our thoughts concerning this whole crisis. So I don't know if the admin or the host of this forum can, give him that opportunity to talk. It's just my personal opinion. It's not mandatory.
Okay, Moses, please, can you briefly give us a narrative of how we have heard Kharkiv it's been a hot zone. We don't currently know how it's happening. So please, can you do us the honors of letting us know about the picture from that side? Moses.
Okay. First of all, Kharkiv, I was like the last black to leave. I left already. But before I left Kharkiv, it's like chaos. The war keep increasing and keep spreading every day. The reason why I was able to stay as far back is because my school had a nuclear bomb shelter, and till now there's still some foreigners in my school, like some locals in my school, and that's the only place they've not touched, because most of Russian aircraft and the engine was made for my school and some Russian technical parts. That is why my school is still standing in Kharkiv. But generally, the stores are locked, everything, nothing is functioning. And for you to go out you should be signing a death warrant on your own. We are actually used to the sound of the rocket launcher, the fighter strike and everything, because it's something we keep hearing continually. For like every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, there is no ceasefire. We just keep hearing it day and night. So it's just God that kept us in Kharkiv, honestly speaking. And it's really intense. I wish it could stop. The beautiful city is now looking so deserted, looking so scattered. All our shopping mall has been brought down. Nikovsky, Caravan, every mall is down now. No supplies in Kharkiv, except some aid, bringing it to my school. Then from my school, some students help with distribute it among locals. We go with some security force to distribute some food around. That's the only thing happening in Kharkiv right now.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much. It's a very terrible situation that we really hope it's coming back shortly. There are a lot of opportunities that are about moving out from Ukraine either to Russia or into Europe. But I just shared my number into the group chat. I'll be expecting a message. There are a lot of people who are ready to help you. I'll share their contacts with you as well over the different procedures and different opportunities you can get while going out. So I'll be expecting people are ready to help. Thank you so much. I'm sure that gives a little bit clearer picture of the situation in Ukraine from the other side. All right, thank you so much, Ms. Flores. It's been a long 2 hours, right?
Yes, thank you too.
And I'm sure this thing will already come to an end. It's been a long ride, but here we are already. When somebody heard your voice for the first time, they were like, it's like we went and brought somebody from the UK.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. So it's nice having you as a co-host, and I'm sure it's been a very beautiful event. Everybody really enjoyed it. Thank you to Ms. Joy of Joyful Joy for being the convener of this event. Without her, this wouldn't have been possible.
So you might may say a few last words. Thank you to all the speakers, to all the participants, and thank you to everyone who actually listened and watched with us on YouTube and also via Zoom. We believed and hoped that you learned a few things, and we believe that the ideas we've exchanged and the opinions we've exchanged has actually helped each and every one of us to get a clearer picture, if not the clearest or the best picture of what is actually going on right now. And to Moses, our prayers are with you, and we hope you actually get through this as a strong African Black man. And if you do need any assistance or anything, please do not hesitate to get in touch with Gabby or Ms. Jo, who is the convener, or even Emmanuel. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, Dr. Bashir, Mr. Imo, Honorable Joel, Mr. Ezen Ronye, that's the Vice President of the Igbo community, Pastor Joshua, and everybody, and also Mrs. Makpa. Thank you, everyone, for your contribution, for your presentations, and also special thanks to Miss Joy and also Gabby for actually helping me through with co-hosting. It was actually a wonderful experience. So thank you. And you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Have a wonderful
Thank
weekend.
you very much. Have a nice weekend.
Yes.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah, Madam Martha, I hope one day we'll see you.